This is the best piece of advice I've heard for entrepreneurs looking to build generational wealth. If you're an entrepreneur that's just getting started or has been doing this for decades, this video is for both of you. And we're going to look at why getting to $1 million of profit in your business is the most important number, and it's going to change everything. The first area we're going to focus on, which is near and dear to almost every entrepreneur, is taxes. Why am I focused on taxes first? Well, because chances are, if you're a business owner, when you get to April 15th, you are dreading the conversation with your CPA and what they're going to tell you you owe in taxes. That's the conversation you're having. You're probably tipping the IRS. But why should you really only be focused on this once you get to $1 million in profit? Let's look at the difference between a business owner who's making $100,000 in profit versus someone who's making $1 million in profit. If we're making $100,000 in profit, we're likely paying in the ballpark of 18 to 20%. Now, this varies depending on the state you're in, how your business is set up. But for example purposes, let's say it's 20%. So that leaves us $80,000 in profit after taxes. Now, if we think about the $1 million business owner, they're going to pay roughly 30% in taxes. So we're talking about a $300,000 tax liability. The stark difference I want to point out here is that in scenario A, where we're talking about the $100,000, you're paying roughly $20,000. But in scenario B, we're paying roughly $300,000. So a $280,000 difference. That $280,000 difference is where tax planning really starts to come into play. Because if you're making $1 million in profits, there's tax moves that we can make that could save you $50,000, $100,000, maybe even $200,000 in taxes over the course of that year. Those exact same tax strategies might only save the $100,000 business owner $10,000. And we're talking about the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax liability that you could be saving at that $1 million level. And when you think about the cost of your time, it makes a lot of sense to start working with professionals who are trained, that have expertise in helping that $1 million business owner. Because again, this is the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could be paying in taxes. Some of the things that you're going to be thinking about at this level are going to be defined benefit plans, which is something where you could Superfund a 401k. Instead of being able to put in your $23,500, you might be able to put in $350,000. We're thinking about what you're going to be paying yourself in salaries versus distributions. What you're paying yourself could be the difference in tens of thousands of dollars in tax liability. But again, these numbers don't start to get this big until we get to that $1 million of profit number. If you're a business owner who is now concerned that they might be leaving the IRS a tip, well, in the comments below, I have a blog where I wrote everything that you need to know about taxes for business owners. That's you. Check it out. If not, on to point two. Once we've solved for the taxes, this is where we really start to focus on how we are running the business. Because at $100,000, we're going to be in a situation where we have a nice paying job. Even at $500,000, we likely don't have a full blown business. We have a high paying job where we happen to be the owner. But at $1 million, you need to start changing the way you're thinking about investing into your company. You need to be starting to think about, how am I going to be reinvesting into the people in my organization? How am I going to be reinvesting into the people in my business? How am I going to be making sure that I'm keeping enough money in cash so that way we can redeploy those profits into the business and continue to grow and scale it? These are all skill sets that people love to talk about on the internet. They love to talk about business and how they should be focused on growing and scaling. But the reality is, at that $100,000 number, we just need to focus on the sticky note business plan. How do we make the next sale? How do we get the next lead? And how do we continue generating revenue? But at $1 million, there's a lot of different decisions that you have to be making. One of the big ones that you need to be thinking about at that $1 million number is, how much money should I be leaving in the business versus taking out? Because this is oftentimes where I see business owners make a massive mistake. At $1 million, they're starting to see the money come in and they pull too much money out of the business. Now, this is contrary to what you're going to hear most financial advisors say. Most financial advisors are going to tell you to take the money out of your business, give it to me, so we can invest it in the stock market and diversify. This can be really sound advice. And for most business owners, we do need to diversify a little bit, but you need to make sure you're working with somebody who understands business and understands the intricacies of how to grow and scale your business and what you are trying to accomplish in your business. Because the reality is, if you're building a company with the intent to sell it, you need to make sure you're reinvesting those dollars back into the business. But you need to have a long-term vision and a long-term plan for what you're trying to do. Otherwise, you're going to fall into the trap that I've seen too many business owners fall into, which is they're blindly reinvesting in their business and it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because remember, in your situation, you made $1 million in profit. You're paying roughly 30% in taxes. That still leaves you $700,000. That is $700,000 that you have a decision on what to do with. And redeploying it back into the business could be the greatest decision of your life, but it also could be the worst decision of your life. Which brings to my third point, which at the beginning I said could be the biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs make. It's the opportunity set of taking that $700,000 and redeploying a portion of it into your personal financial plan. Let's say we have that $1 million in profit. We have $300,000 we're paying in taxes. That leaves us $700,000. Most business owners, they are so concerned about taking money out of their. Now, if we take a portion of those profits and peel it off every single year, diligently invest it in the market, get a steady rate of return over a long period in time, what is that opportunity set that we're potentially giving up? So in this situation, we have $1 million in profit. We have $300,000 in taxes, which has our $700,000 in net profit. Let's say we're going to take $250,000 off that every single year, and we're going to throw it over the wall and invest it in our personal balance sheet. What does that actually turn into over the course of 10 years? That $250,000 might seem small at first, but over the course of 10 years, we're going to have roughly $4 million on our personal balance sheet. $4 million that no matter what happens in your business, we can always fall back on it and live a great lifestyle. When we think about a $4 million portfolio, we could spend somewhere between $160,000 and $200,000 a year. I don't know about you, but that seems like a great plan B and a great safety net for us to have on the personal balance sheet. And too many people, when they get to that $1 million profit number, they don't know what to do with the excess and they blindly reinvest it into things that don't meet their goals. Now, what you need to do is make sure that if you're at that $1 million of profit number, you have a financial plan that encompasses all the areas of your financial life: taxes, business planning, as well as the investment management side of your portfolio. It could be the difference in millions and millions of dollars. So if you're an entrepreneur that's doing over $1 million of profit, make sure your personal financial plan is buttoned up. Because as we've talked about today, it could be the difference in hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes and millions of dollars on your personal balance sheet. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Below in the comments, there is a link to schedule a call with me where I'd be happy to walk through any questions surrounding your personal financial life. And if you got to the end of this video and you have a specific question that you want to know an answer to right now, leave it in the comments below. I'll be answering all the questions in the comments.